Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit, because he was fucking useless.
Well, that's a bit of a... Oh, I don't know, Tony. I don't know where to start, to be quite honest with you. Honest to God, mate.
Well, we don't normally schedule or script, but I think we should decide now what we're going to talk about.
Go on then. You start. Well, it's alright to say that and then hum and ha. Fuck's sake.
Alright then, Peterborough.
Peterborough, got that.
Oh, I did not go last night.
We'll factor that in.
I did not go. So
We won as well. Maybe you should stop going. We win all the time.
15 years. 15 years, never missed a home game.
15 years, man and boy.
I feel liberated.
Yeah, you are the new Sandy Gallagher, aren't you? You're just
It's a weight off my mind, mate. So if I am at death's door and force myself to go to football like I've done previously, I can now stay at home because I've broken the cycle.
So we've got Peterborough, we've got last night that we didn't go to, and what else?
Did you go last night, Ollie?
I did go last night, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Ollie can give us a match report then.
Yeah, we've got a special guest on this week. Don's Action themselves have rocked up, Tony, in full force to stand by the post and the goal behind the cowshed, and no one's going to see them until it's far too late and they've scored the goal. That's what he's going to do.
Excellent.
Right, anyway, so all that bit was cut out. You'll never know what we're talking about. Right, shall we kick off with Peterborough then? Who went?
I went.
I was there for half an hour.
Did you leave before the end?
I watched the first half an hour, then I went to the bar, and then I left at half time.
Oh, this is the stuff we want to hear. Right, well, you could start then.
Right, alright, well, I'll start. So, in my opinion, that is one of the worst performances I've ever seen from MK Dons. And I think be the nicest scoreline we'll ever get for a performance like that. We were awful. The half an hour I watched was... I couldn't believe it. So I left. I walked out when they had that one-on-one, which Cummings saved. But I wish I'd walked out a lot sooner. None of it just makes sense. None of it works. I can't understand what we're doing.
Nah, you're right. I mean, I was tempted to stay in the bar at half time, genuinely, until I realised that also doesn't have any seating. So I decided to watch the second half. And yeah, I mean, even I seriously think that our two goals, I mean, I suppose Peterborough can only blame themselves, but look, if you were to look back on that and think to yourself, oh, that looks like a close game in a few years' time. But in the record books, there should be a little asterisk that says, don't be fucking fooled by that.
Yeah, they were shit. Yeah, because we were terrible, weren't we? Like you were saying about, I mean, that guy on the post, everyone, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, every single person around me was shouting, look at that bloke standing there on his own doing nothing. He's definitely going to score a goal, isn't he? Unbelievable.
Twice,
that was terrible. Twice, yeah. Not just once.
And I'm just like Harris, a 30-goal striker.
Exactly.
Striker. We gave him all the room in the world.
If you're going to leave one man unmarked, you wouldn't have thought that it would be overlooked and be the man who scores goals for fun, Peterborough. I mean,
he was empty, but he was still the man with the most space in that stadium when he got that ball.
Oh, he had basically one half of that box, and then just to top it off, we went and did it again.
I know.
And I can't fathom. I'm telling you this now. If Louis had started, that wouldn't have happened.
I agree.
There is no way. One, because he couldn't have got to the middle of the goal quick enough, so he would have been there.
That is the most backhanded compliment I've ever heard anyone give someone. Yeah, he's really shitting really slow.
I'll get a big slap from him for that one. But no, it wouldn't have happened because when you look at the replays, and especially for the second goal, Dan Harvey was 15 yards away from the He was just coming into the goal area when a bloke put it in the back of the net. So where was Daniel Harvey? You know, in the 5-10 seconds before that happened. And this isn't a criticism of Dan Harvey. This is just seems, for me, this is an overall issue, not just individual players.
Where was Jules going as well? If you watch it back, he's mad, really. And Jules goes every single. I think there's 4 of our players. They all go to the front post.
If you look at if you watch the video, and when just before it comes across the goal, you've exactly as you said. There are 4 players. They're all looking at the ball. They're within 5 yards of the ball. There's another 2 players in the area, you know, around the penalty spot sort of area, 6-yard box. They're also looking at the ball. This takes me back. I mean, me and John used to sit and watch the COVID games, didn't we? In the MKFM JT, and we were noticing this week in, week out, weren't we? Where players were just looking at the ball. There was no awareness or spatial awareness of what was going on around them. They were all either drawn to the ball or watching the ball, and that is happening again at the moment with this team. And I can't. I mean, that's the most basic of errors, is to leave a man unmarked in your box. You just can't do it. And then to do it twice in such a short space of time, I don't know what it is. What is it, Ollie? Is it tactical? Is it confidence? Is it a lack of experience? What's your opinion on what the issue is?
I think it's the main issues with the football at the minute are 2 things. I think one, we're playing a system which we didn't recruit for. I think it's very clear that Manning asked them to sign players to play 4-2-3-1, and we played it twice with Lewington at left back, which was obviously never going to work, right?
Yeah.
And the other issue is the quality we have signed. 4 loan players, we've got 5 loan players in, and one of them is good enough to play week in, week out. And I would not be surprised if Cumming left us in January and Chelsea put him somewhere higher up the league like they did last year. Would not be surprised at all. But the other 4, the Barry, Lawrence and Oyugoki, especially Oyugoki, are not good enough to play for this football club.
Well, Okikoki, his first touch is embarrassing for a player at this level. And repeatedly, his first touch is awful. But he's one in particular. I don't know if it was because he was on my side on Saturday, but I did notice this with him, and I mentioned it after the Cambridge game as well, that he tends to stay on the touchline, but doesn't move much until the ball is already at the feet of the person who should be giving it to him down the line. He just seems to move out to the touchline and stand still and watch what's going on. And he is not good enough. I can't say much about Barry because I haven't seen much of him at all. Apparently, there was a little bit of excitement from him when he came on last night, but. What about Dawson Devoy? Does the bloke know that we play in white at home?
Well, I can't understand what Manning's doing with him, to be honest. I think when we signed him, we saw this player who was brilliant going forward and could do all of this. He could get the ball forward, drive the ball forward, pass, shoot, do all of this. And he's playing him as the most defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, he did look better going forward in previous games, and I actually thought, well, here's the solution to our Scott Twine stroke Parrott problem. Got a player that can almost do both, a little bit of a Keith Andrews type player who can get back when he's needed, but he can also push forward, and he's, box to box type of player, but he does seem to have been pushed back somewhat, and I don't know if it's because McEachran's coming back or.
Well, if anything, McEachran should be the one holding. No, I mean,
I would have thought that McEachran would be the defensive central midfielder, yeah. For me, anyway.
And you've got Johnson, who's.
What is going on there? I mean,
yeah.
He has one really, really good game, and then 3 or 4 terrible ones, and then goes back to the bench. I don't know what. I mean, you see, this is it for me. Again, it's not necessarily about the players that you've got, or their talent, or their enthusiasm, or whatever it might be. But a player like him, and the reason he's been so successful in his career, is because you're going to get 100% out of him every single game, no matter who you're playing against. You can always rely on him to be running around like a lunatic, tackling, shooting, defending, doing the whole lot. But There's just something about the mood, and Luke Ashby mentioned it last night. Actually, body language again is coming back into it, and you can see it where players aren't looking at each other.
Sorry, did he play last night, Johnson? Yeah,
He did.
Andy Johnson, yeah.
Oh right. What was he like last night? Just the same.
Terrible.
Worse than the same.
They were all terrible last night. There's no yes, we won 2-0, but they were all terrible again last night. There was 6 or 7 moments where you just put your head in your hands. You're just wondering what on earth are we doing.
Well, it's difficult It's difficult to envisage what's going on the pitch when you're listening to the radio. But one thing I definitely did pick up on was Dawson Devoy keeps passing to the opposition and is doing it regularly. I don't know why he does it so often. Okikoki hasn't got a first touch, and it just feels like if you're in that team, and you are a decent player, half decent player, and you're looking around you and thinking these lads aren't good enough at the moment, and we can say a development and a building league, a building season, and all that sort of stuff, but there is a possibility that it could lead to relegation, or relegation fight at least. I suppose then we'll have some excitement. But
I genuinely didn't think that we would drop so badly so quickly, if that makes any sense, because I mean we were all quite fairly enthusiastic, weren't we, when we were doing those signings. But I mean, we've said it on here. I have absolutely no idea what. I just don't know what they're doing, to be quite honest. I mean, Saturday was... Do you think Saturday was worse than when we... Who did we play when we lost? Was it Bolton, the last time we were at home?
Yeah, it was.
Do you think that was worse? Because I was trying to explain to my lad, I said, I think this is actually a bit worse than them, and that was just terrible.
Bolton were just better than us, whereas Peterborough were actually on a worse run than we were, or are, and... I mean, as proven by those 2 goals that we scored at the end. But the issue was, and to a lesser extent with Bolton, because they were better than us, Peterborough didn't really have to do a lot to win that game.
We didn't have to be better than us, Tony, because we were just shit on Saturday. That is the summation of that game. They could have been. Yeah. I mean, they were better than us. But we were just shit on Saturday. It was embarrassing, to be quite honest. If you were the kind of guy that got embarrassed about shit games of football, that would have been one of them that you would have get embarrassed about. It really would.
Exactly. Do you know what? I was we have had a weekly DM on Twitter from young Albie.
Hang on a minute.
He said something. Which
I'm
not going to read the whole thing.
No,
I was going to read every 10 words.
10 words. That would still take 20 minutes. Go on.
It still don't take too long. So he said, the real problem this season is how utterly dull and soulless this all seems. If there was a vision we could get behind, it'd be easier ride. Like Russ, love or hate him, that season in lockdown would have been a blast in person because we were excited what was coming. And I don't know what we're doing at the moment, and I think that sort of sums it up. Is with the Russell Martin team, you could see what he was trying to do, and there were periods where we weren't very good at it, especially playing it around at the back.
Yeah, we gave an early goal away, didn't we, every week? Remember that shit?
Yeah, exactly, and that was because he had decided this is how we're going to play.
Yep. I'm not going to change this. This is it.
And it did get better. It did get much, much better. And towards the end of that season, we got playing around at the back, pretty much perfect. We even saw the ugly fucker at the back, who I genuinely don't hate. I really
Richard
don't.
Keogh.
People say that. Yeah, I mean, he used his left foot once, and he actually had his last game for us. He was actually man of the match, if I remember right.
And then he left.
And then he left, yeah. So,
and ironically enough, the game that he missed was against Peterborough, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed, yeah. And then Albie just goes on to say there's no pace. We're not passing the ball with any speed and momentum, which was a key part of our success last season.
Yeah,
when we got our passing going, and we were able to make those breaks, and the defender, Mo Isa, for instance, off the shoulder of the last defender, and just being able to play the ball around, but do it at a pace where the other team had no hope of getting it off us, but also was building to something, usually a goal, hopefully. We haven't got any of that this season. And as Ollie said, the squad that we've got was designed for a 4 at the back, which clearly didn't work. And we keep going backwards and forwards to it. And I don't know. The reason I didn't go last night is because I've got no enthusiasm. I'm very tired of it. I've got no optimism either, and that's the most disappointing thing. I can't see it getting any better.
Like you say, optimism is a good way. I can't see that improving. I can't see it improving on Saturday. I just can't see how.
That's what gets you out of bed to go to football, isn't it? Is the blind optimism.
When you think,
no
Tony,
matter how badly you're doing,
yeah,
you're looking forward to going to the game because you think this is the one today. This is it. This is where it all turns around. That
was the thing for me because I've had a bit of a shit week last week, and this week's shaping up to be even worse. You think to yourself, I mean, you genuinely, I don't know about you guys, but I genuinely look forward to going on a Saturday, even if it's just to, wander down to the bloody bar, have a couple of drinks, meet up with some mates, have another drink, then go half time, have yet another one, and just have a laugh. But Saturday was just, it was a really joyless experience, is the best way I can describe that. It was just like, well, you think, will this shit ever end, honestly.
Think about the Nielsen team, and in hindsight, and someone said it on Saturday actually about, say what you like about Nielsen, but he had a plan and he stuck to it, as did Russell Martin. And the Tisdale football was terrible, but he had his way of playing, and it was let's not lose. Similarly to Robbie Nielsen, but there doesn't seem to be any. I mean, the starting 11s keep changing, the formations keep changing.
That's a worry for me, that what you've just said, because genuinely, I mean, I'm not in the manning out camp at the minute, but you think to yourself, you're going to have to eventually settle on something, mate. You can't keep experimenting every week, hoping that, this is it, I've found it now. The other annoying aspect of what happened on Saturday is how long did they have off to prepare for that game? That's the problem, I had them on the bloody training ground, didn't he, really, for 2 weeks? More than that. And that's what...
And that was probably the worst performance of the season.
And that's what was served up. It was just, I mean, like you say, I was leaving, like I said to my lad, oh, shall we just go? And he goes, oh, we'll wait a bit. And then eventually we were walking out. And, like I missed the first goal. You think, oh, well, hang on a bit. And then we scored the other one, and I said, fuck me, see if we get another goal. That would be the most undeserved, draw that you could ever imagine. Just, like you said earlier on, I mean, it does say 3-2, but no, that's not a 3-2, that. I mean, they just switched off, didn't they? I guess Peterborough just
it was criminal. It was criminal that we got those 2 goals, but Peterborough have only got themselves to blame.
Yeah, it's their fault that we scored 2.
We didn't deserve it. There was a great comment from a Peterborough fan, actually. I saw.
Did it say your team's really shit? Did it say that? Because that would have been a brilliant comment.
It might as well have done, but he said they didn't even deserve nil from that game, which is a fair point. I can't really argue that. And Albie also says, I mean, this is the biggie for me. The attendance on Saturday was embarrassing.
It was,
but it's also totally understandable. He says. And he mentioned it the other day, what does the club have to offer for a fun day out other than 90 minutes of football?
Nothing.
Which is dross at the moment.
I mean, we'll talk about that towards the end, what happened with the bars and stuff, but that's a great point.
I really think that's important.
That's a brilliant point he's put.
Because 0, next to no walk-ups.
Yeah.
There were, 3,000 of their fans?
2,500.
2,500. There was, what was the attendance? 8.5? I think it was about 8.5, wasn't it?
They're the lowest they've ever been, aren't they, at Stadium MK? These attendances at the minute, I'm pretty sure. I think it was Accrington Stanley was the lowest ever league attendance at Stadium MK.
Yeah, and if you say there's 6,000 home fans, of which 4,500 are season ticket holders that get counted, it's very easy to work out how many home fans there actually were there on Saturday. I didn't actually go and find out because it would have been too depressing, but. You could see it, and it's easy to work out. You can basically take what you think is in a block, however many people are in a block, and then add 50% to it, and you'll be pretty close to what's in there. And I was looking around, and I'm thinking, I know it's not 6,000, but for me it was more like 4,000 at the very most.
I reckon there was about 4,000 of us. That's what I sort of like. That's what I was just about to say. That is
which means
absolutely
that
terrible.
half our season ticket holders didn't turn up.
Well,
I know people personally who have season tickets who haven't been once this year. They haven't been once because there's no reason for them to go. Why I've got mates who live up in Birmingham, etc. Why would they come down here to watch terrible football and have a terrible experience?
So there you go. Right. Aside from the football, Ollie, what would let take an average home game last season? We're doing all right, but we're not doing fantastic. What's the routine for you and your mates, for including those that come from wherever?
So we'd go to the pub, which we still do. You know, pubs aren't cheap at the minute, as we know, and it's not. To be honest, Milton Keynes is blessed with the best pubs in the world.
No.
We'd go to the ground. We'd go to Lewington. We'd go leave about 2-ish. Go to Lewington for 1. Then we watch the game, and then we go back to the pub.
Yeah.
Right. This season, we stay there as late as humanly possible. We walk into the ground. 2 or 3-0. We tend to leave because there's no reason to be there. Because unlike last season, so I went to Lincoln last year where we were 2-0 down and turned it around. As much as I wanted to leave at points that day, I still kind of had a feeling when you've got Matt O'Reilly and Scott Twine on the pitch, you can do something with that.
Yeah.
When we went 2-0 down on Saturday, there was no reason to stay. You look at the squad, you look at not only the starting 11, you look at the bench. No reason to be there. You know, there's nothing to excite you on the pitch. There's nothing to excite you off the pitch. I went up to Lewington's last night. I didn't go on Saturday. I went up last night, and just astonishing.
It's terrible, isn't it? Absolutely. We'll talk about that later on.
Amazing is the word I'd use. But to be fair to the club, I've spoke to people last night, and their emotion, what they'll get and how quickly that they will be processed is another thing. But there is definitely things being worked on. Like you were saying earlier, John, you know, your routine, you know, going to the bar at the ground, having them or 2. You know, you've got no reason to do that anymore.
I didn't do it Saturday. Here's what I done Saturday. My normal, like a sort of match day experience was my wife used to drop me off about 1 o'clock. I'd go up to Lewington's, I'd have a couple of pints, then, you know, some friends would rock up, we'd have either one or another one, so I'm pretty far gone by that after having 4 pints of Guinness. Then half time, we'd have another one, and then we had a radio show, didn't we, Tony? So I'd go down there pretty refreshed. But this is what I'd done on Saturday. Rangers were playing Hearts, ironically enough, old Robbie Nielsen. So I quite literally waited until the final whistle, which was about 25 past 2. You know, I got in the car, I drove up there, I got to the ground with, I don't know, about 15 minutes to spare. I went and sat in my seat. I did go up to Lewington's at half time, and I did have a drink with my mate, but it was just... I mean, it wasn't. And then when the game, I didn't leave it. Well, I did leave early. You're talking 5 minutes early. I seen the second goal, and then we just went, you know, try and beat the traffic kind of thing. It's just nothing. There's nothing to entice you to go there. It's a horrible match day experience at the minute. I genuinely don't know if, because I've been kind of thinking about it. I'm thinking they're not doing this on purpose. I'm hoping that they're just I don't know, for want of a better way of putting it, they just seem really tone deaf, like at the minute, don't they? As if I don't know what to say.
I have got a strong opinion on that, and I said because I don't want to fall out with the club. I've got a good relationship with the club, and I still do voluntarily assist the box office on a match day. But this, to me, and for I walked into. I didn't get to the ground until 1:45 on Saturday. I usually get there about midday, maybe 11:30 midday, and then I'll help Gordon take all his stuff up to the info point, and then we'll go into Lewington's for 12:30 roughly when it opens. And I got up there. He sent me a message saying he's in Lewington's, so I thought, well, I might as well go and have a look. And this is just after 1 o'clock. And he was stood at a table, the one table, no chairs, obviously. The one table, the oasis in a sea of shit. He stood by this table,
and there's Gordon. Fuck me, that makes it better, doesn't it?
And we got in there, and about 2 minutes after I got there, Stuart walked up and he said, "Oh, we're going to have to move that table, lads."
Oh, you're kidding, honestly? Really? Honestly, is that the truth?
It's over the threshold. It was a metal table. I mean, how much of a fire hazard or trip hazard or what, I don't know, because it was next to a pillar anyway. So if you don't run into that table, you're going to run into the pillar.
It's been one thing after another, mate, this season. But
it did make me laugh, and I could see the CCTV was right above my head.
Yeah, they got you. Yeah. Look at him, like troublemaker. It's been one thing after another.
If it's possible to give someone a look on CCTV,
it's just been one thing after another, mate. It's been like, I mean, I'm firmly of the belief that they're not doing it on purpose, but I mean, like they got those bloody tellies. They can't get it to show, the 12:30 Premiership kickoff. That's every week. Some guy's got to turn up with a screwdriver.
Well, that was the other thing.
Yeah.
But that game kicked off at 12:30, didn't it? Spurs,
it did. Yeah.
Arsenal. I got up there, as I say, just after 1 o'clock, and about 5 or 6 minutes after I got there, after we'd been told that the table would have to be moved, the game came on. Fortunately, we'd only missed 2 goals.
Oh, that's not so bad then, is it?
Yeah, exactly. That will tell you what time, because Spurs had just scored.
About half an hour.
Tell you what time it was. So that was about half an hour, was it, into the game?
Yeah.
I mean,
here's the thing
like
with that though as well. But here's the thing that really winds me up with stuff like that, right? The North London derby, especially on Saturday, is a massive game, right? We were at the, me and my mates went to watch at the pub. We were there from bang on 12 as the doors open, right? Because it's a big game, people want to watch that.
Yeah.
How much of a genius, in my opinion, does it take for the club to go, let's make sure we have that on, bang on, we're advertising that we're showing that, and we could, I don't know, do some sort of deal where pints are cheaper for the first hour that Lewington's is open.
Every fucking game. It's every game.
That's simple. It's either
simple. You've got to watch Country File for an hour before they put the game on. There's no sound. I mean, it just...
So the TVs aren't a fire hazard, but the speakers are a fire hazard.
Apparently the sound bars are.
Yeah, they've taken the sound bars away, haven't they?
Yeah. So
that's just...
Why can't that be... Why can't that... That's something that I know is easy to sort.
Shall I give you what I think?
It will be part of it. Do you remember I said a few weeks ago about before each game, all the departments or someone from each department goes to what's called a planning meeting, and every single minute of, as soon as the box office opens, and possibly even before that, every single minute, every single event is logged, and there's a list. So any given time, you should be able to refer to that plan and see what's going to happen. So if someone comes up to you and says, are they showing the game in the bar, you can look at this and you can say, yep. And literally to the point where it will say TVs to be switched on at this time, showing Sky Sports. That is how, so everybody knows. It's easy to follow. You don't have to go round asking questions and radioing people and asking silly questions. Everything was plotted out. Why every single game is that those TVs are not on, and if they are on, why are they not showing the football? And why is it so difficult to get someone to switch them over?
Sure, I'll tell you why.
They're too busy, apparently. That's why.
But if they did it at midday,
of course.
Again,
this excuse the other week. It was IT are too busy.
It's like John says. You don't think, John, that they are doing it deliberately?
I've got another theory. I can give you my other theory.
My other theory is very, very straightforward.
What is that?
Is that they don't... It could be one of two things. Either they don't know that there's a problem, or they don't care enough to even consider it or think about it.
My theory...
And that is very harsh on a lot of people, because I know there are a lot of people at the club who do want the best for the fans.
Well, that's a good point. Because
it makes their lives easier for a start.
Because I'm just carry on.
Poor old Ant in media. The amount of ear-roll you must get. I got loads of ear-roll from people on Saturday. I have nothing to do with Lewington's. I don't have anything to do with what happens at the club anymore. But I'm still getting ear-roll. One poor woman come up and she said, "Can I go to my seat?" I said, "I'm sorry, you can't. it's too early. You can't actually go to your seat. She's in Lewington's, obviously. I said, you can't go to your seat till 1:30. The gates don't open till 1:30. And she was absolutely distraught because she had no idea what she was walking into. She's there every week at Lewington's. Yeah. And it may well be the same woman that someone wrote about.
I could see that,
was sitting on the floor because I don't know the woman, but I know her from Lewington's. And, you know, I'd go as far as to say that she wouldn't necessarily be the sort of person who would be keeping up to date with news or have that capacity to do so. So, and I just felt really, really bad for her because all she wanted to do was sit down. But it was another 20 minutes before she could actually go and sit down.
Let me give you my theory, and I've said this before, and you can shout me down, do what you like. I genuinely don't think that the football club is the most important thing that happens at that stadium any longer. I genuinely believe that now. Because,
I've thought that for years. I've thought that when I worked there.
I think, on Saturday, right, you've got all that trouble with Lewington's bar, right, so which was a load of trouble. You've got Peterborough turning up. That's always... it's always a game, isn't it? Like, it's one you always look out for. So what did they think that the best option to do was to shut the Cowshed bar because there's another sport being played in that ground, you know? That's nowhere near acceptable. The main thing and the most important thing that should have been happening at that ground on Saturday should have been Milton Keynes Dons playing Peterborough United, but it wasn't. The most important thing at that ground was the snooker. And it just was.
Let me ask you a question then. So, you know, there's going to be a match on Saturday.
Yep, at 3:00 kick-off, Tony.
You know that Lewington's is effectively useless, and not many people are going to want to go there because there will be no seating and no creature comforts of any description, other than one fire hazard of a metal table.
Yeah, that you managed to get moved.
Yeah, so you're that you know that's going to happen. So what do you do?
Well, if it was me, I would have shut the Cowshed bar and got some snooker in. That's what I would have done.
All right, so you know the snooker's going to be there, and you know the Cowshed bar needs to be shut down. You can't use the arena. What do you do? And you know Lewington's is going to be no seating, no nothing. What do you do?
I genuinely don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Well, I'll tell you what should have happened and what would have happened in the past. And I don't think it would have got to this stage. And I'm going to say that man's name again, Andy Cullen.
Yeah, good point. I was going to bring him up later.
He would not have let this happen.
No, he wouldn't have done. No.
And he would have had a contingency way before the game even started. And this apology on Twitter.
It wasn't an apology. I can't say
it wasn't an apology. It was a reaction to the fans' reaction. And the thing that got me the most was that, almost as a side note, by the way, Lewington's is now standing only. Right? So why could the club not say that? Because surely there has to be a safeguarding issue there, or a health and safety issue there, that you've got this area, which usually has seats.
Do you know where they put the furniture, Tony?
Out of courtesy, just to say there is no furniture, there is no seating. It may sound obvious, but so that people actually know. I mean, as I say, this poor woman may or may not have known the situation with Lewington's, but surely there has to be provision for some sort of, I don't know, seating for people who, like you get on the bus, you have the disabled seats for older people, or the less mobile amongst us, like myself, who have to sit down every 5 minutes. But nothing at all, no consideration, and I think this for me is the big thing about this, is that they don't have any issue with it. They don't think there's an issue with it, and this comes back to that mentality about you bought your season ticket, that's it.
They don't think there's an issue, Tony, because I genuinely believe that they don't. We're bottom of their priorities. Do you know what the biggest priority in Milton Keynes Dons is at the minute? Muse. It is. It just is.
At the bottom of the
The West Ham email, yeah, I shared that. I was the one who shared that.
Real news, you know.
So, can I give...
I saw that, I thought, my God, it's not even being held at the stadium.
Rant,
Where's it being held at the
rant
bowl?
on this whole situation, right?
Is it the
From
bowl?
start to
Sorry.
finish, right? It's at the bowl.
It's not even at the stadium. I didn't know that. Oh, mate, honestly,
Right.
that's brilliant.
On the entire situation from day one of Lewington's, right? So Lewington's, right? The idea of Colin Butler and Lucy Dawson, right? They were the two that really pushed for it, right? The board never wanted it, right? Pete Winkleman was against it. There was other people on the board who were against it, and I know that for a fact, right? So it opened up, right? I think we trialled it just before COVID. It was the game before COVID, I think. And they said if it's a success, and it goes well, we'll put walls in and we'll, sort it out, because in the summer it's too hot and in the winter it's too cold, right? So they were like, we'll put walls in, make it look nice, we'll do it properly, right? Last season it was a success. I don't think that's, even with all the issues with the taste of the beer, all the other problems they were having, I still think last year the bar was a success, right?
Yeah.
So people have been asking, the walls in, are you going to put some effort behind it? Are you going to back this? Nothing, right? And they knew that the council were going to investigate at some point. They knew this was coming, right? They knew this was going to be an issue. And it's only once it's become an issue have they gone, we need to do something now. And I feel like that's a lot of the issues that are happening at this football club at the minute, is where you can almost see these things happening. We're walking into these problems, and then the club are having to be reactionary and fix it very quickly.
Exactly.
And it doesn't work.
You've put it much better than I could articulate it. It's reactionary. It is absolutely reactionary, and there's no. I mean, again, coming back to it again, with Andy Cullen, all of these things. I mean, the man juggled so many things; it's unreal. But it was a phrase I hate. His finger was always on the pulse. He knew exactly what was going on, whether it be with Inter MK and the arena, or the hotel and the restaurants and. But he also knew exactly what the fans were thinking, and he knew. Yeah. And as I say, that's
another thing for me though. We are all MK Dons fans, right? We're not Stadium MK fans. We're not Inter MK fans.
No.
And I think that line has been blurred somewhat. I feel like I just don't think the club really appreciate that. Like, I don't care about Muse. I don't particularly care about snooker. I was brought up under the illusion. I've been coming to watch this football club since I was 6 years old. That Stadium MK is MK Don Stadium. It's not Johnny. It's not O'Sullivan. What's his name? The snooker player. I don't even know his name.
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
He don't like Mountain Kings anyway, does he? He always slags us off, doesn't he?
It's not his stadium. It's not My Chemical Romance's stadium. It's our stadium, right?
Yeah.
So I don't care how well the Women's Euros did or My Chemical Romance did. I have no interest in that. I just care about my football club doing well, right? So when my football club isn't doing well, and the excuses are, but what about the Women's Euros? Or we've got Muse next year, it's fine. And we've got Muse playing in the bowl before we're playing in the bowl.
Yeah, again, this is it. It's about business, and I was saying about this. Let's forget about the furniture for now and the implications of it being on the concourse. 95% of the time during the football season, that concourse is not going to be used. As long as we're in League One and possibly even in the Championship, because we can get 20,000 people in and only use some of the upper tier, although that concourse is a thoroughfare for other parts of the upper tier. But at the moment, definitely 100%, with a very rare exception of a Liverpool turning up or Man United for a cup game, that concourse will not be used for football. So, what is the reason, other than financially, because it can't cost a lot of money? Why can't those walls be put up? Why can't the walls be, even if they were only temporary measures? Again, within regulations and the fire regulations, whatever it needs to be. But I cannot believe, and I would love someone to tell me if I'm wrong here, but I cannot believe that there couldn't even be a temporary structure that could be removed easily to make that to open up the concourse again. And let's be honest, it doesn't really need covering that much. It's only because of that gap in the east stand that it gets so cold.
Yeah.
I mean, in the summer or when it's a bit the warmer months, anybody moans about that. I mean, come on, it's nice. mean, it might be a bit sweaty, but let's be honest, summer was sweaty, full stop. But in the winter, that does get very, very cold. What is the reason for it? Why is it not being done? Why has it not been looked at? Why is it constantly being ignored? Why does no one from the club? I mean, those tweets that went out, especially the one about, the fan would like to apologise for any inconvenience, that could have been and should have been done on Saturday or before Saturday.
And it should have been done by Pete Winkleman as well.
Well, again, it's clear to me, and from what, I mean, I've not spoken to him about it, I've not heard him say anything about it, which for me speaks volumes anyway. I've heard from many, many people that he had no interest in it, didn't want it, full stop.
He doesn't want it. I know that for a fact. He doesn't.
Yeah, so if that is the case, and going back to what I've been banging on about again for years about this, when he walked into Rushden and Diamonds and said, into the bar at Rushden and Diamonds, massive bar, absolutely fantastic, and said, you will have one of these at the new stadium. Where is it? If it was the Red Dot bar, all right, bit small, but it was our pre-match pub. That's gone. That's been given to the hotel. That is no longer a football bar. And it now belongs to the hotel. You can't go in pitch side unless you're a resident. And
you can't go in the Cowshed bar because we don't even own that either.
And you can't go in the Cowshed bar. So on Saturday, if Lewington's had closed down, where would you go within the stadium for a pre-match pint? And again, let's remember that there's 2 stewards in Lewington's, 2 lovely chaps, very nice men, and you don't need. It's a home bar, so you've got to have stewards there anyway. But where is what I don't get is this: where's the lack of money in that bar? If you make a nice bar and you make a nice big bar with plenty of seating, people are going to use it. Like you said, Ollie, last season it was very successful. I mean, sometimes you could barely move and you'd be at the bar for ages. I mean, the great thing about it was at no point did they open that other bar last season, but on Saturday they had 2 bars open and the second bar had 4 staff on it. Yeah. And I asked what was that open for, and they said it's because the Cowshed bar is shut. And I know Colin went up there at 2 o'clock, did he say? I think he said 2 o'clock, didn't he? And he said that bar was still empty. And, the only reason I went down there is because I saw the sign saying extra bar this way. So I thought I'd go and have a look. And 4 of them stood there twiddling their thumbs. I don't get it. There's money in Lewington's. There's a lot of money in Lewington's. If it's done right, and Colin got it absolutely right. He gradually brought in the additional furniture, the big tables, and it was absolutely mobbed at points last season. Yeah, and
it did the job for me as well. Obviously, with we go to the pub we go to, and that probably will never change. That's where we go,
But it's at 12:30.
Tuesday night game, for example, where so I come from Bedford, right? So it's a bit of an awkward one for me to go to this pub we go to, then come back to the stadium, and that it's a bit, on a Tuesday night especially, it's quite it's a long-winded process. We could go to Lewington's straight away. There was somewhere else for us to go this year on a Tuesday night. Because I'm not going up there in its current form.
So if we lose Lewington's, or most likely Lewington's isn't going to be open for a while, even if they do something with it. Where is the bar that we were promised at Rushden and Diamonds in 2006?
And who's more importantly, who's going to take accountability for that? I just think at the minute is Andy Cullen's role got split between 3 people, so responsibility now lies people than it did before. So now things are going wrong, both on the pitch and off the pitch. Blame. You've got people blaming Manning. You've got people blaming Sweetin. You've got people blaming Andy Gibb. You've got people blaming Pete. You've got people blaming the MKDSA, Don's Action, whoever. Right? There's just not. But in these situations where everyone's so disconnected from the club at all levels, if Andy Cullen was still here, you just have him to just bring it all back together. I mean,
as I say,
he would come out and just take responsibility.
It wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened.
Like this wouldn't have happened because, as I said, I don't know how he did it, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks. But he did manage to juggle all of these things, and you could ask him a question about any part of the stadium, any part of the business, and he'd immediately have an answer for you,
100%.
and he'd be able to tell you what was going on. And if he couldn't, he would say, "I'll find out and let you know," and he did. He would go away. It might take him a while, but he would come back to you. He never forgot.
No.
And there is no one. I mean, I'm sure that people like that within football are few and far between. And as I say, that's why he gets paid the money. I mean, as I understand it, he came to MK Dons for his personal reasons because he saw it as a really good challenge, a clean slate. And he told me, I spoke to him just after he went to Portsmouth. I only phoned him to ask him a quick question, and an hour and a half later, I got pretty much the entire story of him from day one at Portsmouth all the way through to that afternoon. But again, he's in the same situation there. He's basically given a clean slate and said, right, this is a football club, this is what you want to do. And he started introducing these interdepartmental meetings, and he was told by people in those meetings that, we've never done this before. No one in any department knew what any other department was doing. He started the fan groups again, the focus groups, the match day groups, all of those sort of things. He's not necessarily doing anything differently because the fans want to be heard. It always feels worse, doesn't it, when you're not doing well on the pitch as well. But I have always believed that a bad business or a business that's not listening to its customers or is not operating in a way that keeps their customers happy, that filters to every part of that business. And I believe that's the same with football club and the way that, Lewin's being the big thing, but the season tickets and the lack of information and the lack of communication. There is no... Who would you go to in the absence of Andy Cullen now? Who do you go to?
In my opinion, I think Andy Gibb.
Yeah, but would you?
Have to go to. Well, I would, because I can get through to him in a way, and I think I have a lot of respect for Andy. I have a lot of respect. I know I've said some things on social media that I posted that open letter. Right, I have a lot of. I think Andy has a very difficult job managing all of that. In my opinion, if in an ideal world, do I think that the football club should be separated from the rest of the business and someone else should be doing his job, but just for the football part? Because he does the rest of the business brilliantly.
The easy answer to that is to bring in a customer service manager.
I think we just need some. I think the football club just needs separated from the rest of the business. I don't think it should be part of the rest of the business. The football club it doesn't, like I've said many times, it doesn't work like any other business. So if we treat it like one, it's not going to work. Here we are treating it like the rest of the business, and it's not working.
Yeah, I did mean to ask, actually, I forgot to put it on Twitter, but I wanted to hear from people in Club Red, because, again, the alternative as a Club Red season ticket holder or having a ticket in Club Red, the alternative to Lewington's is going to the Club Red bars. 0 seats
as well,
and one table, again, which Gordon managed to secure. I don't know how he does it. Gordon got the one table in Club Red. And you know how big Club Red is, the pre-function area? That's a big old space, not a single seat and one table. One round table, very wobbly, with room for 3 or 4 pints. In paper cups, by the way, left over from the Women's Euros.
I just can't
even get a pint and a glass now.
I can't understand it, all of this. So we're making all these changes as such, and the white paper for the ticket was to make the club, more money, more sustainable, and But yes, the club would have made more money if the levels would have stayed the same. So we've made these changes, but the same number of people will still come, even though the experience won't be as good. Well, if you don't make the experience as good, less people are going to come, and that whole plan doesn't work. Football fans are very, we like to be looked after. We want to be, it's a community thing. So if you do the bare minimum for us, we'll put the bare minimum back in. And you see that not only with people how they're acting at games pre-match in terms of where they go and what they do, but you're also seeing it in the atmosphere. Why should Block 11, why I look around, there's 3 or 4 people who start most chants at games now. And you almost just get frustrated doing it because you look around and people aren't joining in, or people just don't seem to care. And you think about it and you go, well, can you blame them? Can you blame these people for not caring? Because there's nothing to care about.
The Club Red was a perfect example. Half time, I always, as soon as that clock hits 38 minutes, I go up the stairs, I drag Gordon out of his seat and make him buy me a pint at half time. And we went in there and we got served straight away, which was great. Around about 40, 42, 43 minutes, then, you get the people, the majority of the people coming in. At no point do I think there was more than 30 people Club Red at half time on Saturday. And normally, again, you can't get near that bar unless you get there early. And you can be there till half time waiting to get served. Second half kicking off before you can get served sometimes in Club Red. It was empty. Now, tell me again, why is there no reason why there can't be at least a few tables be put out in Club Red?
Because they're just the experience is just nullified. They've come out and said it, haven't they? They're putting all of their eggs into this basket. It must be good on the pitch, and we're not good on the pitch. Cost money?
How does that cost money? And I tell you why, because they pay the hotel to do everything. It was
same last season where the hotel tried to kick everyone out of Club Red after, and Pete came in and told them to stop.
Yeah, I was there. I was there.
That's a massive. That is a massive warning sign for all of this.
Yeah, I was there when that happened, and I can tell you now, when we held these Andy Cullen's match day groups, the hotel would charge for the tea and coffee, but they wouldn't charge for a jug of tea or a jug of coffee or 2 jugs. They would charge per head. So you might pay the club might have to pay £6 or £7 per person. It depended on the function, obviously, because with those sort of meetings, you're not going to know. But I can understand that because the money is going back to the parent company. It's all going back to Inter MK. But when the club can't afford to pay itself or sees that as a good way of reducing costs, we are the ones that suffer for it. And that is absolutely 100% clear now that, yes, there were benefits to Club Red which were extremely good value. Being able to eat a decent bit of grub at a football match in the ballroom, brilliant. Get there at 12:30, whatever it was, get a really good lunchtime meal, have a couple of pints, watch the game. That, and again, I don't know how much food they sold, and it wasn't cheap. We're talking like £8 or £9 for what is effectively a bar meal, but it was very, very good. But you could watch the game. So they took that away. They opened up these 2 meeting rooms, not two meeting rooms into one. I've not seen it, and I don't think I'll ever go and see it. But it's for me now. And Lewington's on Saturday and and Club Red on Saturday. For me, that was actually like going to an away ground, where they remove all the comforts for you.
There's far too many extraneous things that are put sort of before, like, us, basically. I don't mean us, I mean just the fan base. I mean, there just is. I mean, they take us for granted because I think they're generally of the opinion that irrespective of how shit it is, we'll continue to turn up because we'll turn up to see the club.
We've paid our money.
We've played our season ticket,
money.
Yeah.
We're a captive
they couldn't
audience.
Fucking care less, mate. I'm quite honest. That's what it seems like at the minute.
And again, the club were quite clear on the Club Red situation, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle about it. But they made it clear what was going to happen with Club Red. There was no secret how stripped down Club Red was going to be. But again, I don't understand where.
I can get the fact, Tony, right, that they're having to cut corners, but here's a classic example of how fucking stupid they are. Like, Pete was on the news last week, wasn't he? You know, making a big deal. He was I didn't see it, but apparently he was on the news and he's wandering around the club, turning fucking lights off. Did anyone notice that even in absolutely brilliant sunshine, every single floodlight was on? Did you notice that on Saturday?
Yeah.
That was one of the first things I saw on Twitter as well.
Stupid was that, though? Making a massive big... For a start, I'm assuming the majority of those lights are LED lights, which are, they cost nothing to run. So you think, all right, you've got them on.
Not.
But the problem is, you think...
Not LEDs.
They're not LEDs, are they still...
The new ones are, but not all of them.
Yeah, LED lights aren't perfect. I'm going to get really boring now. But having worked in lighting for 16 years, I can tell you that LED wouldn't do the job. No, they're like hydroponic, the high pressure sodium.
All right, so there's sodium.
lights,
Like,
because-
the problem is though, Tony, getting back to what I said, they're making a massive big deal about, like, you know, he's actually on the news, isn't he? I didn't see it, but like I say, you know, I'm led to believe he was shown, you know, wandering around the stadium turning lights off. You think, you turn up there, you think, you got the lights on, it's sunny, you don't need to have those. I mean, that is just someone, that there is a prime example of what I said earlier on about the club being completely tone deaf and just think, it'll look really good if I go on the news, bloody, you know, whatever it is, I don't know what, bloody Anglia tonight or whatever, and there I am wandering about the stadium, you know, turning lights off. That's just like stupidity, it really is. They
Well,
don't.
they had that last night as well. So you know how the Young Don Zone is now closed and it's been moved back downstairs, right? So where it used to be, in next to Lewington's, as you come left out of the
Yeah, I know.
out the doors, right? So it's all gated off. You can't go through there, but they've still got the bloody TVs on in there showing the football.
Do you know? I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that on
That was
Saturday.
last night, and I just looked over and I'm thinking, I mean, that is just. And another thing that we've been talking about, me and my mates, who go to
Well, at
games
least
with
they were
us.
showing the football.
Yeah. So these bars there's a necessity for them because we have an open concourse, right? Now, who thought in 2000 and whenever they designed this that a football stadium should have an open concourse? Who thought that was a good idea?
It is a very good idea, actually. I
is,
have to
because-
say,
I don't think it is.
It's-
It gets rid of the
it's-
whole
it's
problem
always-
with bars.
it's almost unique, but the bars are designed. The bars are designed in such a way that, as used from the cowshed bar, that you can't actually see the pitch from the bar itself. So you've got the cowshed bar in that position with the doors where they are, so that you can't actually drink within view of the pitch. And that's the same with all the other bars as well. The bars that some of the bars that are unused down by Gate 1, for instance,
Yeah. But if you then,
where you can't view the
Concourse.
pitch from the concourse, from the bars.
if it was a closed concourse, though, you get rid of the whole need for the bars that we don't even own. Right? So if we had a closed concourse, even if it was just behind the cowshed, then there's no issue with the cowshed bar anymore.
Yeah,
That doesn't belong to us.
But I think it's a great. I think
The
it's a
away
brilliant. I think it's a brilliant feature of the stadium. I really do.
The away end now, we have to have tarpaulin down on the sides, which looks horrendous.
That is
what,
what
for
it
the
is.
segregation.
Yeah, for the away fans, with all the white tarpaulin, which they have to when they have a big crowd, it's always wrapped round, and it just looks horrendous.
Yeah.
Right, so
No, I
we
don't
move
have
on
an issue with
because
the concourse. I think it's good.
we've been recording for an hour. That's 1 hour's worth of complaining about Pete Winkleman's bars, to be quite honest.
All right. Before we go, then, Ollie, anything you want to tell us on Don's action? Do you know, it took me a while to realise that Don's action and the MK1 podcast boys aren't the same thing.
Did you
We
not
are
know
very
that?
close. We are very close friends, though.
I thought it was. I thought you were all. I thought they were one and the same thing. So yeah,
I'm good
what's
friends with
happening
them.
with Don's action?
What have we got on? So we've got some new banners on the way soon. I'm just waiting for the club to get back to me on that one. I did email them on Monday just to confirm things, and I haven't heard anything, which is not a surprise to anyone. So we're getting
Imagine
them.
that.
One will be sort of Remembrance Day themed, which we'll use on, I think, Armed Forces Day. I think we're playing Derby. And then the other one will be a Block 11 design one, which we're going to have at the back of the block for every game from now on. We also did the survey this week, which has gone down well. We've had over 200 responses. And I'll be going through that tomorrow night with the club at the supporters board. So we've got that going on. And to be honest, there's not much else. It's all, we're just sort of helping out with the NCDSA with the Lewington stuff where we can. But at the minute, we're just sort of trying to have the positivity there is.
Well, if you can, keep us updated on any developments with Lewington's or
Oh, absolutely.
come
Absolutely.
on anytime you
Yeah.
like.
Well, no, I think what the MKDSA do, what you guys do on here, what the MK1, do. Can you imagine if this was happening 5 years ago when none of this really existed? And it was now, because there'd be no one fighting our corner. Because the MKDSA then were thing.
That was my
Don's
youth
action didn't
secretary, wasn't it,
exist.
John?
Probably that was one of the worst. That was the worst one. What was it? Yeah, it just as what it is. Like you say, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Social media, I think social media, like us, we've amplified it. We're probably, to be, play Dick Advocate once again, we're probably amplifying it a little bit more than it really needs to be, if you know what I mean. I genuinely think...
Probably because we're not doing so well on the pitch.
Yeah.
And,
I do agree. I think that is part of it.
Yeah, I think that's the main part of it.
At the same time, the deterioration in the relationship between the club and the fans...
been astonishing, hasn't it?
Since Andy Cullen went, has
unbelievable, mate.
Beyond anything I would... I was concerned about Andy Cullen going, but I thought...
Do you miss him, Tone?
In that capacity, massively, because there was always someone you could go and... there was always someone you could go and talk to, or I was in the fortunate position of being able to actually physically go and shout at him. And as I say, over the years, the only thing we ever fell out on was staffing of the bars. I always said that we should have got pub staff in rather than agency staff.
Yeah, I disagree with
which
that.
would alleviate the problems with getting served massively, but presumably the cost difference. So it was something he never really wanted to talk about.
Right, let's get back to the football. Who's gone?
So that relationship for me has gone.
Who's gone Saturday?
When I say gone, I mean it's gone.
Right, Saturday. Who's gone to Shrewsbury?
I don't think I am.
No, aren't you? Another shit podcast next week.
I should remember if I'm supposed to go or not, but I can't actually remember. So, Ollie, we'll rely on you for a match report then. If
I'm sure I can sort you. So I'm sure you'll see a bit of reaction. If I'm still in the ground with half an hour to go, I'd say that's probably a sign that we're winning.
Yeah, give us your 33 minutes review.
Absolutely. No worries.
And then we got
predictions.
We got next Tuesday as well, haven't we? We're not at home.
Yeah, we do that as well.
Predictions. Jeez, I don't know what to say. I couldn't make a guess. I've no idea, to be quite honest. I just don't know what will happen on Saturday or next Tuesday. I've no idea. This is the first time genuinely.
I'm going to say empty away end at 87 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a score prediction. Ollie?
I'm going to play the best performance of the season on Saturday, win 3-0, and then we're going to come home on Tuesday night and forget who we are, and we're going to lose 2-0 at home to Bristol Rovers, and I'll be back home by 9:30.
For a brief second there, before you moved on to Tuesday night, you sounded just like me no more than 3 months ago, and for the last nearly 20 years. Yeah. It's going to be the best game you've ever seen in your life. And I say that's why I didn't go last night, is because I haven't got that optimism anymore. I haven't got that enthusiasm or optimism of it starts here today. This is the game. This is where it all kicks off.
Well, I'm going to have to say that at 1 hour and 5.5 minutes, I think that's more than enough complaining about Pete Winkleman and his business empire. So, obviously, a massive thanks to Ollie for coming on, and hopefully we can get him on again in the future. So, this has been... It's not gone the way I thought it was, this pod, I got to be honest. But it is what it is, so what can you say?
Well, we can have Ollie back anytime.
Yeah, anytime, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm free. I'm not very
welcome.
busy, so... If I'm not very busy, so if you ever want me back on, just let me know.
Oh, God, anytime, mate. Yeah.
We might even get you back as the third wheel. Although it's much more difficult to take the piss out of you than it was.
Yeah, they were easy to take the piss out of that pair of clowns, weren't they?
Give it time.
Yeah, I suppose so. We'll find your major flaw. We'll find the thing that makes you tick.
Right.
Before we go, John, just
mention... Yes, I forgot. Forgot to mention that,
It's very sad to hear about the passing of Malcolm Porton a couple of weeks ago. Only found out myself on Saturday and unfortunately wasn't able to go to his funeral today.
Was it today? Oh, right. Oh.
Malcolm was, as well as a Dons fan, was for several years an important part of my unbeatable, invincible quiz team as well.
Did we not have him? Did you not have him? He was on the podcast once years ago, wasn't he? When we used to do it upstairs, didn't? I'm sure he was. I'm positive he was.
I would imagine so. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he wasn't.
I'm positive. We used to do it in a pitchside bar when it was like. I mean, God, I'm talking well over 10 years ago. I'm sure he was on an early one. I'm positive he was.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have seen him much over the last few years, sadly, because of his illness. But a lot of you will know the face, even if you didn't know the name.
You'll know his son without a doubt, won't you, Greg?
Oh, you'll know Greg. Everyone knows Greg. Yeah, absolute gobshite.
Terrible
big
thing.
mouth.
So.
Lovely lad, but an absolute gobshite. So yeah, very sad to hear about that and Malcolm. So yeah, if you want to join my quiz team, that's not in very poor. That's in very poor taste.
That's
Sorry.
very poor taste. I wouldn't think anything less of you, Tony, to be quite honest.
I know, but I'm sure he would have appreciated.
He would have
the joke.
done, yeah. Right, I think that'll do us. We'll see you next week. Where neither me nor Tony will have been at the game, but I am endeavouring to listen to it on the wireless this time.
I'm definitely going to listen if I'm not going, and I should probably find out if I am going or not.
I would have thought it would be a good idea, yeah. Right, shall we done?
Right,
That
yeah.
us.
Cheers, Ollie.
Cheers.
Right, see everyone next week. Bye.